So yeah, the reason why only making indie games made in the indie game studio is because the reality is games aren't guaranteed to sell even if they're good. Like even if they're extremely fun or they have, amazing marketing, they're not guaranteed to sell. Like the game industry is a very volatile industry and it's kind of like the YouTube algorithm in a way. Like you may make a lot of games, like you're making videos and you put it out, but it's just not what the audience is receiving at the time. A great example of this is Among Us, right? When Among Us came out, it was a flop. It wasn't doing that well in sales, right? Then the pandemic came around and it changed the whole game up for them because what happened? Everybody was in the house and they was looking for something to socialize with their friends, and especially the content creators. They were a key factor. So content creators was like, man, what can I socialize with? And then bam, Among Us was right there for the taking. Y'all, that's a prime example. And you know how many, so if you think about that, think about how many games like Among Us exist on Steam or on the Nintendo marketplace or Sony PlayStation marketplace, Xbox, whatever it is you want, you look for games. Imagine how many games like Among Us are out there right now that's good, right? Or that's fun. Imagine. It's the very reason why some of these AAA game studios are making half-done, crappy games is because the industry is so freaking risky that they like, all right, we ain't gonna put a whole bunch of money and resources into a game. We just gonna put the bare minimum, which is pretty much business 101. They're like, we're gonna put the bare minimum of expenses for the maximum return on investment. So they release a game at like 25%, and then it's either going to sell for them, and then they're like, all right, we'll just take the complaints and then we'll just polish it and then they'll be happy. We'll just make it better and then they'll be happy. Or they could release it and then not sell at all and they'll be like, oh, well, at least we didn't put a whole bunch of money and waste a whole bunch of money on this. So it's another reason why some of those games are not innovative, because it's just so freaking risky, y'all. I mean, if we think about it, I was like, I thought about the root of that problem. I'm like, why are they releasing games like this? And it's for that reason. It's that, they don't want to risk the money. So, not that it makes it right, but back to my indies, man, because I'm focused on y'all. I want all my indies to win. I want the gamers to win from indies making games that are from the soul. So, here's what you can do. Here's what all my indies can do. Take a look on the left screen, over here. That screen that way, right? You see the seed sign at the top of my house, my tiny house? Look to the right of that. You see that little Mario plushie right there? That's how you keep your game studio alive. You diversify your revenue streams. Now, I'm not saying you have to be in your house knitting and making plushies. You can find a partnership with a company that already does that. And the games that you are already making, you can design them specifically with the longevity or the long-term ideas of diversifying revenue streams. So let's say, for example, let's look up an indie game real quick. Let's look up an indie game that I know that you can make cute. Slime Rancher. Bam. Y'all see this? Now I bet you they got plushies. Hold on. And I haven't even looked this up, but I bet you they got some type of plushies out. Look at that. Plushies for freaking Slime Rancher. Y'all, this is one way to diversify revenue streams for indie game studios. You diversify your revenue streams. All stuff that you are already doing for your game. Because if a game doesn't sell, but you got these cute plushies, or maybe the plushies could be put, or the characters could be put on a t-shirt, that could keep your studio alive. Because a lot of situations for indie games, and I my heart goes out to anybody that's making an indie game and they're working a full-time job, because making games are already freaking difficult. You have so many elements that are involved. Game design alone, making a good design, not like visuals, but I'm talking like mechanics, feedback, all that stuff. That alone, that's why these people are getting paid full-time jobs to work at indie game studio, AAA studios, because this stuff takes work. So anybody that's making something, man, and they are working a full-time job, my heart goes out to you. But for those of you who want to just quit a 9 to 5 and you want to make making games your full-time thing, these are some options for you that could keep your studio alive. Because if you got a team of people who got families, man, it's tough. Like, you don't want to be one of these AAA game studios that got to lay people off, right? So it's like, all right, if you guys know, like, all right, there's a chance that our first 3 games may not be great, but let's make sure that we're being mindful, having mindfulness about every aspect of the game, whether it be tutorials. Maybe you make a cool mechanic or a lighting feature that a lot of people like to use. You make some content around that. You know what I mean? Do that once and put it out. There's always something that could keep your studio fed and revenue coming in so that you could do what you love the most. Make games with indie passion and soul to put out there to gamers that want your stuff. So that's the reason why indie games, making indie games alone, or making games alone, period, made in the studio. I mean, Nintendo, one more example, y'all. Nintendo, right? I remember the Wii U didn't do so well. I remember that. And I think the Wii too, like they had okay sales, but I can't remember. But I know the Wii U didn't do too well, and they still had the DS going on. They still got toys, Pokemon trading cards, all the whole 9 yards, bed sheets with Mario on it, pillowcases, you name it, sweaters. Like, there was still other things that Nintendo had bringing money in, so that huge corporation with all these employees can make games. They still had that stuff coming in. All right, so y'all, this is how some of my indies out here, this is how y'all can win no matter what. And I love y'all, man. Peace and blessings. I hope this helped you out. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.